Charles Black Lance. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Reed Campbell.
Here.
Tom Haglund.
Here.
Sue Kern.
Here.
Ruth Nelson.
Here.
Bob Nystrom.
Here.
All present.
Okay, great. Thank you. And as we have been doing for a while, we'll continue with our virtual meetings per our governor's request. From there, we'll move right into approval of our agenda. There are no amendments. So I entertain a motion.
I so move approval of the agenda as presented.
And I'll second that. That's Sue.
Okay. So motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Kern for approval of the agenda. Any discussion? Not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move into our public hearing for our truth and taxation of 2020, which is payable in 2021. Tax levy. Marcy, take it away. Marcy, you're muted.
Oh, gosh.
I got a little happy with my screen. Sorry. All right. Is everybody able to see?
Yes.
Awesome. So tonight is the public hearing for our taxes payable in 2021. State law requires us to hold a public meeting between the 25th and 28th, which is why we're having the meeting tonight, 6 p.m. It's part of the regular scheduled meeting. We need to have a presentation on the current year budget and the proposed tax levy. And we will take public comments and then also have approval by the board tonight as well. So I'm going to give you some background information on school funding and then the district's budget and then also the taxes payable, and then we'll have a time for public comments. So the Minnesota legislature sets the funding for Minnesota public schools. They make the provisions for taxation and everything else that is set at tonight's meeting. The school district does not have the authority to go above what is set. So the funding is highly regulated. The state sets the gen ed formula, tax policy, and the levy maximum. School districts can go out for referendums for operating in capital with voter approval. So one of the challenges that we face as a school district is that our gen ed formula has not kept up with inflation. This last year we saw a 2% increase. And if we were to try to keep up to that inflation, we would have to have a 7.7% increase this year. And then this chart just kind of shows you how that gap has slowly spread throughout the years since 2003. Another issue that we've struggled with as a school district is also underfunding in special ed. So as a state, the special ed was 40% underfunded in fiscal year 18. The primary options is to cut regular program budgets or to increase by going out for that referendum that I had spoke just previously about. So the result of that is there's a growing dependence on referendum revenue. You can see that the average is $846 for voter-approved operating referendums for Minnesota school districts. Brainerd does not have a operating referendum, and I did ask Ellers if we were to do an operating referendum for that $846 that is the average, what would that mean for our school district? And it would be approximately $6 million additional revenue for us per year, just a FYI. So a change in tax levy does not necessarily determine a change in budget. And what that means is an increase in levy could offset a reduction in state aid. So if state aid or a state category has levy and aid, sometimes the legislature will say, well, we're going to decrease the state aid, but we're going to allow you to add more onto your levy. The other option is that some of those categories are restricted by the state. So an expenditure is limited by the state set revenues. An example of that is staff development. If the revenue of that gets increased, that's great, but that doesn't necessarily help the unassigned in the general fund. The school district levy cycle is different from other entities. So the city, county, they're able to levy for the budget year that's the same as the calendar year. So we collect taxes in 2021, but the school district, it's actually payable in 2021 and collected in 2021, but not recorded until our 21-22 fiscal year. So it's a little bit different than the city and counties. So tonight we're going to present the fiscal year 2021 budget, which is kind of unique in that the levy we're presenting really has no effect on this budget, but that is something we're required to present on. And then here's a list of all the funds that we have: general, food service, community service, the building construction, debt service, internal service, the OPEB trust, and the OPEB debt service. The one thing I forgot to comment on that last slide is the 21-22 budget will be adopted in June 2021. So this next slide is what we're required to publish in the paper by November 30th of our actual revenues and expenses, and then the budgeted revenues and expenses for this year. Just a nice summation of all that we have going on. If you guys have any questions throughout this, please just go ahead and ask them while we're on the slides. This last one is, or not last one, this one is a summary of all our revenue funds, and it includes the transfers in. Our levy is approximately 22% of our total revenues. So of that 111 million, 22% of that comes from the levy. The general fund revenue is about almost 88 million. And of that, 80% of that is of the local levy. So almost 13 million is local. And of that, 80% of it is our levy. Here's a breakdown of our budget in the general fund of expenditures by object. And you can see that the majority of our expenses is wages and benefits, which comes out to about 77% of our general fund budget. And then this general fund expenditures by program is where are we spending our funds, what categories, I guess you could say. And when you add up all the instruction and pupil support, we spend approximately 80% on those areas. So we determine the levy, and then we're going to compare the 2021 levies, reasons for the changes in the tax levy, and then the impact on the taxpayers. Property tax background, there's various taxing jurisdictions, and each jurisdiction sets their own levy. The county sends out the bills and collects from property owners and then distributes those funds back to the jurisdiction. So we receive the funds from the county after they've collected them. So here's a sample of a property tax statement, which would compare to the prior year. And then these tax statements, the proposed taxes would need to be mailed out between the 11th and 24th by the county. And it contains all the information about the meeting times. So there's several categories for the levy for school districts. There is a maximum levy for those that is set by state law, unless you do go out for those referendums that we discussed, which require voter approval. So the school district has one step in the 7 steps that are on the next slide, and that would be the step number 6. At first, the county determines the estimated market value, and then the legislature sets the formulas. The county auditor then calculates the tax capacity, and then the legislature sets the levy limits. So after that, MDE comes in and says, here's your information summarized and detailed by each district. And then the school board can then take that data in September and approve the proposed levy. And then in December, there's the public hearing and approval by the school board for that final levy. And then the county auditor will take our information and divide it out and send out those actual tax statements in May. So this just kind of breaks it out. September 8th was the first day of the draft that MD put out of the levy. September 28th, you guys approved the proposed levy. Mid-November, taxpayers should have received their statements, and then we are at tonight's meeting, and then following that, we'll certify the final levy amounts. So the proposed levy is an increase of $893,642, or 3.8%. Some of the reasons for these major changes are, I'll go into more detail, but here's a summary by fund. As you can see, the major increase is this debt service, 7.8%, which is related to the Blueprint 181 projects. So in the debt service fund, the voter approved change went up $198,000, and that's due to our annual required payments on bonds. This was planned with all of our Blueprint 181 planning, and they're coordinated with the capital and debt levies to maintain that tax rate that was discussed. And similar in the debt service funds, the LTFM, it was plus $840,000, almost $841,000. Similar, it is due to our Blueprint 181 projects. Many factors can cause a tax bill to be increased or decreased. So changes in a person's value on their property, changes in the total value of the property in the district, increases or decreases in levies of the other jurisdictions that are on there, and then also if we had any voter approved referendums. Those are all factors that can contribute to someone's taxes going up or down. In the following slides, we just have some comparisons of the no changes in property values for some residential, commercial, and ag examples.
Hey, Marcia, hang on one second. Charles, it looks like you're dialed in twice, maybe. We're getting some feedback.
Perfect. Thank you. So the impact on the taxpayers, you'll see that this is the best available data that Ellers has prepared for us. So we pulled in this $156,200 home because that's what was used when we were selling the referendum. So in 2018, that home would have saw taxes payable of approximately $549. With no change in market value, this year's taxes, they would go up to that $581, which is an increase of $32 from 2018. And it's actually a decrease of about $20 from last year. And just I just want to point out again that this is no increase in property values. Our property values actually went up, I believe Greg said, about 7% this year. So their taxes may be higher than this, but it's just to show that that $7 per month has been maintained with no increase in property values. And I believe when this was before my time, but the commercial, that 219.9, Greg said that was also a number that was used when the referendum was sold, and that would have been an increase of $120 or down $28 from the previous year. And this just shows it in the graph form of what people would have saw. So from 2018 to 2019, there was that bump. That was the year that it got approved. And then we've just seen taxes. We're trying to keep that line as straight as we can so that people don't see a huge increase in their taxes. And then on the Example 2, that's that commercial property of $219,900. And example 3, that's the ag homestead property with $4,000, I believe it's per acre. And then example 4 is the seasonal rec property, a value of $202,000. So the board will accept public comments on the proposed levy, and then they will certify the 21 property tax levy. Are there any questions, or can we move on to the public comment?
Any questions from anyone? Okay, let's move on to public comment then.
Chair Hagelin, we have not received any public comment to the communications@isd181.org email address.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so hearing no public comments, we'll move on to acceptance of the tax levy as approved. Looking for a motion.
I will so move.
Second, Ruth Nelson.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Nelson for approval of the final certified tax levy for taxes 2020 payable 2021. Any further discussion? Not, those in favor say aye.
It's a
Aye.
roll.
I think I need them.
Can we do a roll call, Tom?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
all in favor.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Marcy, for your presentation. Hopefully you're still on, but thank you for your presentation. Okay, we'll move right along into recognitions, and I'll turn this over to our superintendent.
Thank you, Chair Hagelin. I appreciate it. Got some feedback there. I appreciate it very much. Tonight is just a really bittersweet night for me because it's that night where we get to recognize two incredible board members who are serving their last meeting tonight. Sue Kern and Reed Campbell have given their hearts and souls and dedicated themselves to the students of our district, our staff of our district, and also our entire school community. And so tonight, as I put in the memo, from the big fixes to the little messes and everything in between, these people have been there working on behalf of the school district to make it a better place for all of our children, and so our kids can live their purpose. And so tonight, I know that Janet has gone around the entire community today and brought some cupcakes because we were trying to figure out a way that we could celebrate and we could say cheers to these wonderful, wonderful board members who have given their heart and soul to the district. And so tonight we say cheers to both of you and tell you we will greatly miss both of you. I'm just going to miss you so much. So to Sue, to Reed, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. We'll miss you.
Agreed.
There's a clap on here somewhere. I got to find it.
Is there?
I've got it.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, and before we move on behalf of the board and personally for myself, Sue and Reed, it's just been a real joy working with both of you. It's like we're certainly going to miss you, but hopefully you'll continue to be involved, as I suspect you will, with our schools. But it's just been a real treat and a real joy to work with both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Yeah, and I didn't know if we make comments now or at the end of the meeting, but I can save them till the end.
Okay.
I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Good idea. Okay, so we will wait for that at the end and we can keep eating our cupcake at that time. So tonight also, not on the recognition agenda, but I also want to take this time to thank Chair Hagelin for his year as the chair of the Board of Education this past year. Everything has been more difficult in 2020, including being the chairman of the school board and all school boards. The additional meetings, the additional calls that you've taken because of issues that have come up have been greatly appreciated. And so, Tom, on behalf of the rest of the board and all the people on tonight, we just want to say thank you to you for your service. We know it's been a difficult year, but you've done a great job as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also, if we were in person, we'd be awarding Tom his 10-year pin tonight for 10 years of service to the school board. And so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also under recognitions, Brainerd High School would like to thank Pequot Tool and Manufacturing for their generous gift of time and product to the BHS Decoy Design Program. Jason Crutchton and John Georges donated the metal fins for the take-home kits so students could continue their work to create fishing decoys even when they're distance learning. Approximately 90 sets of these fins were manufactured and donated to our program, and so we thank them for helping to our kids to be successful and continue this education. Brainerd High School would also like to thank the Brainerd Service League for the generous gift of $2,200 for our students in a need program. Over 45 students and their families are the recipients of this grant gift and will enjoy gifts of food, groceries, gasoline, and clothing during the holiday season. So thank you to the Brainerd Service League for this $2,200 donation to help families in need. Thank you also from Brainerd High School to the Neighborhood National Bank for delivering treat bags to all of the staff at Brainerd High School in October. And finally, thank you to Central Lakes College for donating a manual paper cutting machine to help create books made by the Artist's Books students at Brainerd High School. So that ends our recognitions tonight, but once again, we are just so appreciative and so thankful for this community partnership to make sure that our kids get the best education possible. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. All right. Next, we'll move into general public input. And Corey, I don't know if you're there. We are made aware of Corey's going to pop in, but we have received, Elaine, did you want to chat a little bit about the high school scoreboard for the pool? We've received some comments on that.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Last Friday, a few of you might have received an email regarding the scoreboard for the swimming pool, the new swimming pool in the aquatic center that is being developed at this time. And this issue has been addressed previously at core meetings at the high school, but until Friday, nothing has come to our attention at all. And so since that time, we've been doing some research into this. And what we would like to do, there are 7 or 9 different, I could count them here, communications about that scoreboard. But what we'd like to do is follow the same chain that we do for all of our decision making. And what we're going to do is do some investigation and bring this concern forward to the project oversight team meeting. And that next meeting will be January 5th of 2021. And so we will bring it at that time. But what I'd like everyone to know is I'm going to, like we've done before when we've had large amounts of concern about one item, we're going to be putting all of these concerns in a folder in the superintendent's office. So if someone would like to read the concerns, they can. But once again, we want to go through that same protocol as far as approving things or not approving things. And what that would mean is the next step would mean project oversight. And so we will be bringing this issue forward. We visited with Damien today, and he has it on our next agenda already to discuss and to bring forward and to make some decisions moving forward. So just want all the people who sent their communication to us to know that they've been heard, that we have those communications. And again, we will follow the same protocol that we do for all decision making and bring it forward to the project oversight team. And then if that committee decides that it's something we need to bring to the full board for a vote, we will do that. So are there any questions about that?
Yeah, so will the board, the general board that isn't a part of that group, will we be made aware of the decision one way or the other on that?
Yes, we certainly can do that. Yep.
Superintendent Larson, I also wanted to ask, who brought this or formulated this fundraising effort for the $80,000?
Well, I think so this is a public input. So there's nine different individuals that have submitted comments, all related to the scoreboard. And so I don't know if there's any that we really need to or want to get into kind of who championed it, but there's 9 different comments, all related to potentially replacing the scoreboard, and I think some other pieces of equipment with that as well.
Right. And I know that Reed TC has been doing a lot of work today, just looking at past board minutes and who was at some of those meetings. And so we'll have all that information collected to present at project oversight, and then we can get all that information to the full board as we move forward. But we'll just follow the same protocol that we do with all of our decisions.
Yep. As well as public input, which typically we won't really discuss or debate this right now. So,
right.
Okay. Are there any other? And I just want to summarize real quickly for the 7 or 8 or 9 folks that did send in. Thank you for taking the time to express your concerns or to make sure that we're aware of which we are. We've got the hard copies. Anybody that wants to read those, and as Lane said, we'll take it through the channels and see where it goes from there. And Charles, to your point, we'll make sure that everybody's a part of that.
Right.
Okay.
Are there any other public inputs that might have come forward? Corey, I see you're back online.
There's been nothing else submitted.
Okay. All right. We'll move right along then to approval of our November 30th special school board meeting minutes.
I'll move the approval of the November 30th special school board meeting minutes.
I can
Second.
Whatever.
Motion by Director Nelson. I was always taught women come first. So second by Director Kern for approval of the school board minutes of November 30th. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please. Janet, are you there?
Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Black Lance,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Haglund,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you. Next up is approval of our consent calendar. Entertain a motion.
I don't have many left, so Reed here will make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I can second that.
A motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Kern for approval of the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Black Lance,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Haglund,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
all in favor.
Great, thank you. Next up will be a presentation on our COVID-19 updates. I see we have both Angies here, I think, yes?
Yep, I'm here. I'm just gonna.
Okay. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. Can you guys see that? Is my screen up there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to take a little bit and discuss kind of what's moving forward with COVID-19 in our school district. Some of the data points that we still continue to review are the regular Crow Wing County case counts, quarantines and positives with staff and students, continuing our bi-monthly updates, and also looking at our safe learning plan. So as this is the same graph that we've shown, for the third week in a row, we are seeing a Crow Wing County case decrease. This coming Thursday, the county will post 110.56. And as we watch this number drop, we will continue to be in contact with local public health, the MDE, MDH, and our regional support teams as they guide us through the process of when and how we return to in-person learning. I don't have any more data points beyond what is supposed to be presented and submitted this week. This is the learning model. We've shared this before in a couple of our earlier presentations, but I've kept it out. But now we just want to bring it back to show what our learning model looks like. So with regards to safe, the safe learning plan, anything 50 or above is distance learning for all students. And what we're looking for is hopefully getting lower than that for the hybrid to return. But we will continue to be in contact with all of our support teams for guidance in regards to this model. I wanted to also kind of update people in case they haven't received or noticed that the decision tree has been updated. And some of the things to point out is the combination of some less common symptoms. And an example is, in regards to this, a nasal congestion, stuffy or runny nose is now considered one symptom versus 2 or 3. So we're kind of looking at that. Another major update is the definition of a close contact. MDH has adopted the CDC guidance in what is considered a close contact. Now it states that a close contact is anybody who is near somebody who's positive for COVID-19 within about 6 feet and for a total of 15 minutes or more throughout the day. It previously stated somebody in contact within 6 feet and for 15 minutes consecutively. So now instead of looking at just a 15 minutes consecutive time, we are looking at 15 minutes throughout a day. So throughout that instruction period, throughout sports, throughout any of that. Bus rides, so that's going to kind of play a major impact also as far as quarantine. And then the last update, just to kind of make it more clear for people to see, is that anything that deals with siblings and households is now in gray, is highlighted in gray. This updated decision tree has also been updated on our district website. And then again, we look at our quarantines and positives. Right now, we have currently about 30 staff in quarantine and approximately 20 students. The hard part is we don't know the exact number of students due to distance learning. We try to get as much as we can. Previously, we would get input from public health and MDH in regards to students who test positive, so we could help with contact tracing. But now that students and teachers, some of them working remotely, have not been in the school buildings for 2+ weeks, we really don't have contact tracing, so we're not getting this accurate information. Positive cases, since the last board meeting, we've had 12 staff and 10 students that I know of. We currently have 6 staff that are positive that are out in quarantine. We're still asking that staff and families communicate results with us through the district, and as this helps us to be able to look at that safe learning plan and see what we have moving forward. And then the same area that's still effective right now is our paraprofessionals, as these are the ones that are doing our emergency care. So when we're down paraprofessionals, it's really hard to try to keep that emergency care going. Something that came through this weekend that we were advised of is some community testing site. This is going to be located at the Central Lakes College starting on this Thursday and running through Thursday through Saturday. With the hours as shown, Thursday and Friday is going to be 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and then Saturday 10 a.m. to 2:30. And this is in coalition with MDH and Public Health. This is a walkthrough testing site. Participants will self-administer their own nasal swab. Appointments are strongly encouraged but not required, and you can schedule appointments. And I gave the website, but I think we're going to include this in our bi-monthly communication coming out this week so that we can include the website for people that want to make appointments. And I did talk with Public Health today. This is not a rapid test result, so you're not going to be able to go there and get your results right away. They are stating that results are still taking 4 to 5 days. They recommend anybody that has symptoms or is asymptomatic to come and be tested. And I believe, from what I understand, they could do like 480 tests a day. Continuing this week, Superintendent Larson will send out an update, the bi-monthly update, and we're going to continue to include all the same information. Our county case information, staff and student positive case rate, any operational effects due to quarantine, and we're going to include information regarding the community testing site. Superintendent Larson also serves on the Learning Model Transition Group through MDE, MDH, and MASSA. And looking forward, looking ahead, we still continue to work with our support teams through MDH, MDE, Public Health, and our regional support teams, the bi-monthly newsletters to keep everybody involved, and also that community testing site that's coming forth this weekend. Was there any questions from anybody with regards to what's going on with COVID in our district?
I just have a quick question. As far as the numbers going down is really positive, and would that include numbers from the Thanksgiving holiday weekend?
We don't have that exact data yet. We look at 2 weeks, and I was actually talking to somebody today about that. Most people traveled on Thanksgiving, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday with being a holiday. I think, as this week goes on, we should start to see what some of those numbers look like as far as Thanksgiving travel. But, we just don't know yet if that's going to play an impact or what our numbers look like. I have not seen anything that's projected after this week.
Could someone address how the teachers and staff are doing during this distance learning? Also, there any mental health issues? If I know that was getting really bad a month ago, what are you hearing from the staff?
I can chime in, and Heidi, if you have some more input too. I think, just from my perspective, and I can't obviously talk for all the staff, I think it's calmed down pretty significantly since we went to distance learning. The workload is still there because delivering everything distance learning has its own challenges, and really the concern over the students, and everybody does want the kids back. But overall, I feel like kind of the pulse is a lot calmer right now. Just because I feel like it's supported with where we were in our numbers. There was increasing concern in regard to just COVID in general, and having distance learning in place now. I think some of that stress has diminished a little bit. Heidi, do you have any other input?
I can speak to the student side. It is very stressful for students. We know our students like to be social and be connected to one another, and that's very hard to do virtually. I think teachers are getting really creative at ways that they're trying to create some of that connection with students. I know our collaborative workers that are assigned to our buildings are starting to do home visits. Our administration's been amazing. They get very concerned. Teachers are watching out for kids closely, so if all of a sudden they're not hearing from a student, they respond. It's interesting. Teachers are now right in students' homes, so there's a lot happening, and there's a lot of stress that goes both ways. The teachers have been anxious about it. Parents are anxious with that happening. But I feel like we've been able to respond. Our Northern Pines mental health staff If they need an in-person visit, they've still been trying to arrange that in-person visit. So we're making sure we have significant access to the mental health support within the school system as well.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that I'm really glad that the numbers are going down. And a question for you, Lane, is in your email to everybody, you'd mentioned something about January 14th. I'm wondering how you came up with that date. Is that from the CDC?
MDH has, and Region 5 have given that as the first date that people might consider starting to slowly move your students back into school, depending on what happens over the holidays and that 2 weeks following Christmas and New Year's and during those. And so that's the first date that we've been told to look at.
I'm hoping you get them in as soon as you can.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah.
Angela Hamilton, this is Reed. I just had a question on the self-testing dates and going through that. And after going through a couple of tests myself, I'm wondering if they self-do that swab themselves, is it really going to come out that well? Because I don't think I'd shove mine up my nose as far as
I don't think I would either.
You know, I personally have not seen it done by, somebody else doing it. I've had multiple of them done myself, and I agree. I don't know how this can be done. I know there will be staff there to assist them, but again, I don't know how somebody can self-do that. For those that haven't had it done, it's not a pleasant thing.
Just to add on to that, I had one testing done, and I had some different kind of testing. I'm not sure why, but they didn't go way up my nostril. They just went inside, so it wasn't painful or horrible at all. So I'm thinking that's probably what this test is the test I had.
That's one of my tests, Ruth. Yeah, they're not near as bad as the original ones were.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks for the update. Well, next we'll move into our 181 project updates. I don't know, Damien or Scott or who's going to take the first one?
Well, I am here. Good evening. I'll get my presentation, share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Super. So here's our bond improvements update for December 14th, 2020. And technology is not my friend. There we go. Project updates. High school A-wing approval to begin schematic design and South Campus construction document review and approval. So we're going to start with Mr. Whitmore. We are going to review A-wing last. So just trying to give our friends at WIDSES some time to close up another meeting. So Mr. Whitmore, go ahead.
All right, if everybody can hear me, good afternoon / evening. Go right into it here. So area 2, we are finishing up starting flooring, getting finishes going. We had some S-type fixtures that were damaged in shipping. So we had to send those. That'll finalize our above ceiling inspections for the electrical components. Then we can pad out the ceiling. That's the top. Well, I guess I don't have a picture of it on there. In the auditorium, concrete's ongoing. Theatrical equipment. We started installing acoustic banners on the north and south sides of the auditorium walls. You can see in the top right photo there, we have the lighting towers are beginning to be framed out. Most of the above deck items are complete. Balcony concrete's complete. Under the balcony concrete's complete. We're framing in lighting, IT rooms, things of that nature. We're down to pretty much just the west side there and getting that the concrete there finished, and we'll keep rolling. Area 10, pool footings and foundations are still ongoing. we're still working away. We got the north, west, north, and northeast footings and foundation walls complete. Structural steel started in the northwest corners. We're working on the south side footings and getting, in fact, as you can see in the bottom left-hand picture there, that's the 36-foot deep footing. That footing and foundation wall is being poured as we speak. Well, not as we speak, it's dark now, but it was today. Area 6, top left picture there, terrazzo floor is complete in that main area commons. We're working on the accent brick right now. We should be wrapping that up in the next couple weeks, and then those folks will move up into the Performing Arts Center lobby and finish up the stonework up there, or I should say get started. Area 8, which is kind of the athletics commons, terrazzo flooring. We have everything poured out through G-Link, D150, which leads down south of the cafeteria. That just needs to be, in fact, that's the bottom right picture, that's D150. That was poured out, just needed to be ground. G-Link is poured out, needs to be ground, and then we'll be installing terrazzo flooring in the Area 8 common section there. Area 7, which is north of the pool. Like I said, we got structural steel going up so we can extend that fax lab. Well, I shouldn't say fax, but the CTE wing south to the north side of the pool wall under the completed roof portion, which is where the fax rooms proper are. We got sheetrocks up. They're starting to tape. Rough-ins are near complete, and it's looking like a teaching space. So it's just kind of interesting because nobody can see it right now. It's all covered, and nobody really knows what's back there. And then we'll talk about A-Wing here towards the end of our presentation. Any questions, comments, concerns on the high school?
Yes, Scott, this is Bob. Question about the swimming pool. 2 weeks ago, you reported that you had discovered clay in that. Has that become a significant issue to the project?
Yes, it was about 2,100 yards of clay that we found and had to get removed from the site because we can't put our footings on that. And additionally, you don't want that with the swimming pool there. You want all that out of there. So that took us quite a bit of time to get all of that soil corrected. We're hoping as we progress to where the ramp was, we're hoping we got it all, but there is a distinct possibility that we're going to hit more clay there just because of where that line was trending towards. Any other questions? All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for the high school North Campus. All right, South Campus, just quick project update here. So last week, Monday, we did have the city council meeting. Our conditional use permit for South Campus was approved. So all things are good to go there. And then I'm going to, Damien, if you stop presenting, I'm going to present and go through South Campus construction review. All right, can everybody see my screen? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right, so this is the, as we had shown quite a few weeks ago now, the exterior rendering of the South Campus Level 4 facility. Prior description hasn't changed. Here's CD budget. We are tracking right on budget where we wanted to be, about a $6,000 delta, but at this stage in the game, that CUP is complete. Next, we'll be going to Mindoli review after the first of the year, and same with flowing plan review, and then we'll be applying for our permit application afterwards. Releasing the bid Tuesday 12/29, bid opening January 21st. Thursday towards the end of the month. South Campus, the only things that have changed since DD was the addition of, as you can see here, our boiler house stays, and we have a tunnel that leads underneath and connects into an existing tunnel. Well, in order to maintain the services, we had to keep that tunnel in place, so we had to put a slight jog in the curb here because we weren't allowed to, we wouldn't be able to drive over the top of that, especially with buses. We lost a couple of parking spots, but otherwise, I think we're still at 111 spots in this parking lot and 5 ADA. We've still maintained the district building grounds and the transportation section of the south side. We do have fencing coming up, gate across it as requested. On the west of the building, we did have to maintain a fire line going to the southwest corner. So that's what you see right here with my little pointer. We have reduced the size of this parking lot down to about 56 stalls. I had included a hard surface play area for basketball, as well as an actual playground, I guess, area to serve the high school, or correction, the LEC side of the building. If you have questions, feel free to bring them up as we move through. Some landscaping shielding to the south side here around the boiler house, and then in the little green space islands. The extent of the demo hasn't changed. We're still demoing out about 40,000 square feet of the existing east side of the building, moving the existing entrance. That'll no longer be the main entrance, and then selective demo throughout the rest of the approximate 72,000 square feet of the building. Just a overall building plan view. As mentioned before, we do have our main entrance on the east side next to the parking lot and the bus drop off. Paul Bunyan Transition Plus and Stars will be entering from the north. On the south side will be the LEC. The building's pretty much split in two. We have our office administrative area here, and then Paul Bunyan Transition Plus and the Stars program and the northern side of the building. As we move south, we have the gym over here on the east side. Care and treatment, health services, serving area, our LEC high school facility, and LEC elementary middle school area over on the southwest side, and then our support rooms, which are Flex Specialty Lab, Games Maker Lab, and then moving lastly into the building and grounds dedicated area, as well as the district transportation. Move in, so this is area A, which serves primarily Paul Bunyan Transition Plus STARS program. We do have an entrance on the far north side, high needs, de-escalation, aggression rooms, as well as 2 classrooms and a STARS production lab. And then on the Paul Bunyan Transition Plus side, we have 3 classrooms, our future classroom, and then this will be new, well, have floor, ceiling, acoustical grid, lights, and be a future space for you all. Inside the old Apple Cafe will be the new training academy, and this facility will have our Paul Bunyan Transition Plus Skills Lab and STARS Life Skills Lab, as well as our neat little breakout area, which got a cool little rendering sitting there for. Moving into area B, this is the office administrative area. This is the main entrance for the facility. We'll be handling people coming in and out of the building. We got the fishbowl concept as previously approved, and then you'll be coming through the main reception desk. We do have mother's room storage, as well as staff lounge, open common work areas, numerous conference rooms on the north side, dedicated entrance for our Paul Bunyan Transition Plus and STARS, located here by our trellis area, and then our LEC dedicated drop-off down on the south side. Towards the south side of this building, we do have our health services mental health facility, Northern Pines or Nystrom or whomever's going to be in there. Those facilities are over there, as well as community transitions over on here. Moving into Area C, which is primarily care and treatment. We got the care and treatment suite, 2 classrooms surrounded by a centralized breakout space. Then they'll move down. The existing kitchen is going to stay the same. We will be reducing the serving area slightly, and that's to make room for a staff resource room. We've got our high school classrooms along this edge with a non-binary bathroom area here. Gender neutral, I should say, not non-binary. Moving over into Area D, this is the gym. The gym, which is the existing motors room, will be converted to, well, a gym. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. We got electrical room, office, storage, and then they'll be entering in and going down a ramp and have a small breakout area before going into the gym itself. Area E, again, no real changes to any of these areas, but we have on the north side our elementary school classrooms, on the south side our middle school classrooms, our flex specialty lab and our games maker lab on the south side with operable partition to increase or decrease the size of this room. And then in the center here is kind of our breakout office and then seclusion room hub. To the far east, district transportation and building and grounds would be sharing this facility here. And then here we previously reviewed these at I believe the 1026 board meeting, but the renderings from the different areas of the building. Elementary, middle school core, let's have little breakout rooms. And LEC multipurpose, heading down the hallway. That concludes my presentation. Any questions on South Campus?
Why don't we, Bob? Did you have a question, Bob?
Oh, no.
No.
Maybe just a comment. What a beautiful building. Great job on the design of this.
Yeah, thank you. I know and NCE and Obernell have been working through the complications of COVID and telemeeting. It's been quite an interesting experience, but I feel like we've addressed we're addressing a lot, a very high percentage of the needs. I know Amy Jordan, you're on here. If you have any comments on your building or facility, future anyways.
And Val's there too.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I just wanted, Scott's right. It's been very interesting process with COVID, but I agree. It's a great space. I am super excited for things moving forward, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity that we have for our staff and kids. So thank you, Board of Education and community members.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Sorry about putting you on the spot like that.
Okay, well, so before we move on to the A wing, why don't we take action? This is item number 2. Why don't we take action then, which is to approve our construction documents. We would entertain a motion for that.
Also move that we approve the construction documents for South Campus at Brainerd High School, the building that's going to be the future Lincoln Educational Center. Transition.
Charles will second. Charles will second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Blacklands for approval of the construction documents of South Campus as presented. Any further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you. Okay, next up, A-Wing. Or did you have other updates you want to do first?
I think we should do A-Wing. I think that'd be great. I see Mike was on, so.
My name is Mike England with WITSEF, architect on the VHS project. And so what we'll do is present the A building design concept. We're very excited to present where we're at in the preliminary design phase. And so if we can share our screen with you all. Lindsay, could you share your screen, please?
Can I just say something real quick? I just learned that if you go over to where we tiled our screen, you can make this full screen. You can change layout so you don't see all the people, and it makes it bigger. Spotlight, I think it is. Because it's kind of hard to see some of the layouts on these little.
Okay, great, thank you. So WITSEF was tasked with the design to take a look at A building and provide a new vision for that. And so we've had a wonderful opportunity to meet with various user groups, which includes BHS staff, administration, and we've also had the opportunity to present to the oversight committee, and really had some wonderful input and feedback from everyone. It was just really exciting to get back in front of the user groups, Scott Whittemore, myself, Lindsay, and others. And so to get back in front of everyone with Principal Rusk and the teachers was just great. And so what we took a look at was taking a look at the existing layout. So as you can see on the screen right now, the traditional layout that is there is that there's classrooms that are around the perimeter of A building. And then there are some internal support spaces. And there's a smaller corridor, a rather narrow corridor that serves in between those. And then we have the main north, south, east, west access points. And so as we were taking a look at the reconfiguration of this space, one of the things we really wanted to address was making this a much more inviting academic space, a much more inspirational space for learning. And so what we've done in this document with the existing conditions is we really took a look at what are the clear dimensions of and the clear width that we have for these corridors. And so as you can see on the screen with the main floor plan, the smaller corridors actually go down to about 7.5 feet wide as well. And so one of our goals was to really open up A building to make it much more welcoming, and from a wayfinding standpoint, and even from a supervision and staffing, really wanted to make this a much more accommodating layout. And so as we go into the next slide, please. So the proposed main floor, this is the main level of A building, and one of the great things that came out of this in listening to some of the concerns and questions during oversight, and then even in talking with VHS staff, was we were able to kind of create within these quadrants, these learning communities, and really excited about opening up the main north, south, east, west corridors. As you can see, it's a much wider area. It will help and improve access and circulation into the H-link, down into the main entry, and then into the north addition. And we have these new learning commons that are within each learning community as well. So it's really exciting when we were talking with staff that they could all really see themselves working together as a department, and that there would be these common learning areas for students that are off of the main aisleways, if you will, the main circulation space. So there's some real strengths with the design, and really had some very positive feedback. One of the things you'll note on this plan is that we provided some single unisex restrooms located alongside where the existing restrooms are. And so that's another strength with the plan as well, is that we're offering up some single-use restrooms for students and staff as well. If we take a look at the second floor, so the lower level hallway, excuse me, before we go up there, the image that you see on the left is that 7.5 foot wide corridor that I was speaking to before. And as you can see, it's kind of a dark hallway. You're not really sure what you see if you're a new student. And then also with the book bag storage out in the existing corridor, it's very narrow. You just can't really envision that there's a lot of students that can use these corridors. effectively. The image on the right shows what those new common areas could be within each learning community. And so we're very excited with what that can offer students and staff. And again, from a supervision standpoint and really being able to see what's going on within each area, we're really excited about the potential for what this new layout can be. So the second floor, in a similar way, we have a very similar condition where we do have some of those narrower corridors that it's kind of like a racetrack almost within this building. And upstairs, though, we do have some larger classrooms, and those would be the science classrooms, biology, chemistry, physics. And if you recall, within our original design, we were able to incorporate ninth grade science, which is in the lower right-hand corner. But we still had some of those interior support spaces that were set inside the building and then separated from the outer classrooms by that narrow corridor. And so in a very similar way, what we did is we took a look at maximizing the overall space of A building. And if you could go to the next slide. What we did was something quite innovative, and we're really proud of the fact that we were able to open up not only the main level, but the upper level by utilizing the stairwells, which are located on the west and on the south side. What that allowed us to do was to really maximize the square footage along the west side, and all of those chemistry rooms now are very well sized, adequately sized, and they face towards the east into what was becoming new science common areas. And it really just opened up this A building and created a much more accommodating learning environment where learning activities and things could occur outside of the classroom. It also actually gave a much more clear direction, a much more clear view towards the east and to the north, where there are some stairways and connections with the north addition. Here's an example of that image on the left-hand side of A building, what it currently is now, and then what this same area could be, and that is a new commons directly right off of the science labs. And so we're really excited where we are right now. This is the conclusion of the preliminary design phase. Again, addressing a lot of the questions and concerns, but also there's a lot of excitement that was generated during this design phase. And so we're excited tonight. We're looking to receive approval to proceed into schematic design, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, if I could start, I'm Bob, and if I may show some emotion here, I am blown away by this. It is incredible. And coming from a person who attended the school in the second, third, and fourth year, back then, while many people in the community were happy about a new school, they didn't understand the modular design part of it. And so we've had to live with that now for 52 years. And what you have done with this space is absolutely incredible. And it will improve and enhance it. I know the students will love it. Congratulations on a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had one more comment about the, I brought it up at Project Oversight about the stairwells. And I'm wondering, is it possible to put one on the south end and still do, I'm really liking the design, and I like all the openness and the, you call them the learning spaces and all that, but I'd kind of like to see one on the south end, because kids from upstairs that are in the southwest corner are going to have to go clear over to the east side to go down the steps if they're going over to the welding or the other you know, the other classes that we have on the other end of the building. They're going to have to go way over that way and then come way back. So I'm wondering if there's a possibility of putting a stairwell on the south end. I mean, consider that at least.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And I think that's a great thing we can continue to explore during schematic design. One of the things we were able to do after Project Oversight last week was to actually investigate more efficient layouts within the existing stair openings. And so on the north side that was quite successful in opening that up on the north side. And so I think that that's something we can work with on the south end. And I know that within the physics area that we had identified within there, just adjacent to that area was another commons area. And so maybe I think there is some potential there. So I think that's a nice comment.
Thank you.
You bet.
Other comments or questions? I would echo what you said, Bob. What a transformation to that space. And thank you, Mike, for addressing some of the concerns and details we talked about earlier. So appreciate that as well.
My pleasure.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody ready to make a motion to approve the preliminary design?
It would be my honor to make the motion that we approve this as presented.
Reed will second.
All right, great, thank you. A motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Campbell for approval of the preliminary designs of the A-Wing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Great, thank you. Very good work. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you. Damien, any other updates that you're wanting to go over?
Yep, I'm sharing my screen. We can run through the other projects real quick. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, so New Baxter, working on wrapping up the punch list, commissioning the HVAC, and we are looking at the end of the month here as far as wrapping up closeouts. And that's very similar to all of the Wave 1 elementary projects. Nisswa Elementary, same status. So if anybody has any questions, just feel free to stop me. Warrior Early Learning Center, we're working on exterior framing and paneling. Drywall finishes are continuing. We're completing the remaining masonry infill, and then finishes are beginning next week, including paint and acoustical ceiling tile grid. That is one project where we had lost our drywall crew due to COVID. We have brought them back now, and they are working expediently to help pick up time. We still have 7 full weeks of construction before our completion dates, so we're optimistic that we're still going to hit our dates. So the crews are working very hard on that, and we are full steam ahead. Harrison Elementary, again, punch list commissioning of the HVAC, looking to get that building wrapped up here by the end of the month. Again, we'll come back in the summertime once we start cooling and do more commissioning, but at least we'll be through the heating season, through some of the heating elements. So, Garfield Elementary, same status on phase 1. We are planning for phase 2. That's going to go into high gear here after the first of the year, get things ready to roll. So we're all excited about next summer's busy season. So Lowell Elementary, casework installation is being installed at the admin area. Grills, registers, and diffusers as well. Gym equipment installation has been completed in the gym, and then terrazzo has been completed in the admin area. Again, a lot of great work getting put in place, and again, after the first of the year, we're going to go into high gear as far as getting our second summer ready to roll. There's a lot of work to come on this project, and as you can see, the finishes are coming together and looking very comparable to the other schools. So very exciting. Riverside Elementary is in full gear after the first of the year here to get as well, getting ready for our second summer of construction. So So really going to be doing a lot of planning here over the next few months, getting things ready to go. We've definitely worked on procurement, making sure we're getting our materials, making lists of materials are maybe a little with longer lead times due to COVID, but we're identifying those issues and just trying to get prepared for a successful, busy construction summer. Any questions?
No questions, but just a comment. One, I saw that Baxter Elementary was in the Widseth calendar. It looked really nice in there. And then two, possibly we could have tours in January if COVID numbers continue to decline, and
sure,
that would be great, I think.
Absolutely.
Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you, Damian and team.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next up will be Mr. Murtha, World's Best Workforce Plan, and I understand you have a 45-minute presentation for us now.
I gave him 4.5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Poor Tim.
Well, that's quite all right. We should be presenting here. Okay. As you know, the World's Best Workforce legislation is the starting point for our continuous improvement work in the district. And it boils down to goals set in 5 different areas, starting with early childhood with all students ready for school, 3rd grade reading achievement grade level and literacy, closing all student achievement gaps, particularly the largest one in the district, which for us is special ed. And then all students being college and career ready, and then that they're graduating on time in 4 years. With the inability last spring to collect data from the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments and the other summative assessments we would use, plus the 1-year delay in collecting graduation rates, which is normal, there really is no report to give. I am required to bring forward for your approval goals to be worked on based on that data, which doesn't exist. So our solution to the challenge is to roll the goals over that you approved last year in the same areas. We're not doing structural CIP work at this time. We're focusing our professional development and our support work where it's most needed, and that is as needed for supporting teachers and staff in the current conditions. So really all I'm asking to do is roll over the same goals that were approved last year for an optimistic opportunity at working on them perhaps this spring and into next fall if we get data this spring.
Questions for Tim? And so what we're looking for is approval then of our
the 22-21 World's Best Workforce Combined Achievement and Integration Plan.
Also move.
Charles will second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Blacklands for approval of our World's Best Workforce Plan as presented by Mr. Murtha. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Black-Lance,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Item number 4 is approval of a second amendment to our public transportation service agreement. Superintendent Larson, did you want to give an overview on that? Or?
Yeah, I can. We've had a significant amount of meetings over the last couple of months since we started going into distance learning as to how the transportation agreement that we currently have, what it states, what its intent was, what some of the needs are, both for the district, both financially and the needs for transportation, as well as looking out after our partners, which happens to be Rikers Transportation. After a significant amount of meetings, one of the things that we did was we developed an amendment. Currently, the existing contract says that if we have weather-related items or some kind of a school closure, that we pay 60% of our transportation. And that just isn't conducive to for Rikers with this pandemic. It's just been a really difficult time for everyone. And so what we wanted to do is find a proposal or an amendment that would be suitable for the school district, but it would also be a kind of a win-win plan for both Rikers and for the school district. So we put together an amendment to pay 100% of our special education routes, because those are reimbursable to the school district, and to increase that 60% to 72%. I did bring this forward to the gentleman at Rikers Transportation, and they have signed it and agreed to it. And we think that this is a fair compromise for both Rikers and for the school district. And so I'm recommending tonight that we approve the second amendment to the transportation agreement as presented. We had an amendment last spring, if you remember correctly, and that finished on June 30th. And so this is the second amendment.
Superintendent Larson, could you just explain, since a lot of people are watching, how we're still using district transportation? So people.
Yeah, we're still using transportation for a number of things. One, there are some students with special needs that are still getting transportation and coming in. Emergency care is using our transportation. There are cases where we need to bring materials and food to people. And so we're still using transportation, but not nearly at the level that we would be if we were in either the hybrid or the in-person model.
And Reed here, and I just wanted to comment on, again, great work on that, and thanks Reichert for working things out with us, and they've been a great partner, and we appreciate their many years of service. Thank them.
Got a really nice letter from, I believe it was Mike Moran who signed the letter, and just a really nice letter thanking us for our partnership and for trying to make this a win-win as we go through this difficult time.
So I would move to approve the resolution to accept this new contract with Rikers Transportation.
Bob will second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Campbell, second by Director Nystrom for approval of the second amendment of our public transportation contract. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Tom Hageland,
Yes?
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Black-Lance,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
all in favor.
Great, thank you very much. Next up is item number 5, which is regarding combined polling places. Superintendent Larson, comments on that?
Yeah, this is just a resolution that we have to pass each year, whether or not you have an election within your school district. And so the resolution just establishes the polling places for multiple precincts and designates the hours during which the polling places would remain open for voting if we held an election. And you have to do this each year, and so Janet is really good in December about reminding us to make sure that we get that approved on time. So I'm recommending approval this evening.
Okay.
Also move the resolution establishing combined polling places and times.
I'll second that. That's Sue.
Thank you. Motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Kern for approval of the combined polling places as presented. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blackland,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
all in favor?
Thank you. Next item is approval of a new Baxter Elementary School Stormwater Facilities Maintenance Agreement. Reed, were you going to have a comment or two? There you are.
Yep, I'm here, board members. Good evening. Just got I'll give you a little brief update on this, just because it's not an everyday document that you'd maybe see come floating across your desk here. In front of you is a maintenance agreement that is for the stormwater retention pond at our new Baxter Elementary site. Going through the year here, one of the things that was brought to our attention from the city of Baxter is we were still needing to execute this agreement for the maintenance of that stormwater retention pond. It's not uncommon for these to be in place because those ponds are mandated by the state and by the municipalities that are in our area here. So we already have one of these that we signed for the Warrior Early Learning Center. This is just more of a formality in front of you here this evening just to sign off on that document. It's something that we would typically take care of anyways. Any questions or that I can answer for you?
Thank you, Reed. Any questions?
I move for approval of the new Baxter Elementary School Stormwater Facilities Maintenance Agreement as presented.
Second, Reed.
Thank you. Motion by Director Blackland, second by Director Campbell for approval of the Stormwater Facilities Maintenance Agreement as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
all in favor?
Thank you. Next up is item 7, which is approval of our Oscar Christopherson Park lease agreement.
Okay, me again here. In front of you is the draft or proposed agreement to enter into with the city of Baxter. You may recall from our conversations about the Warrior Early Learning Center that the development of that site really has happened over many, many, many years here, and the operation of the Oscar Christopherson Park has really been just in an arbitrary agreement between our two entities here, between the school district and the city of Baxter. What we really wanted to do with the development of this site and the remodel of the school was clean up a bunch of stuff. You recall, we did a study and a survey over there. We replatted the whole area. City of Baxter took care of all that for us. And one of the things they wanted to do with us is enter into a longer-term agreement for the operation of the Oscar Christopherson Park. You may recall when we were looking at the property maps that a portion of the school, a portion of the park is actually on school district property. So when you look at the west half of the Oscar Christopherson Park, there's a ball field, some tennis courts, and a couple drive lanes and a kind of an open area there. That's actually on school district property. And so what this is here is essentially a request to continue the operation of that for a number of years, acting as us as the owners and them as the tenants to the space. Really a minor monetary exchange of $1 every year just to show that there's a financial exchange happening there for a lease agreement like this. And then it just really clearly outlines who's responsible for what maintenance. You can see in that agreement there's a significant amount that the city is taking care of as part of the park's operation. The financial liability that we would have is just the upkeep of the parking lot and paying for parking lot lighting, which we would use for our school operation primarily. So, and then normal snow removal and some of the other general maintenance activities that would take place there. So really it's just kind of setting in place in paper and pen here those already agreed upon roles and responsibilities that we've been doing for 30, 40 years already since that park has been in existence.
So, Reed, I think you answered my question, I think, but we're not, there's no additional expenses like the electricity and the snow removing. Those are already in our budget.
We already account for the snow removal on that, Director Nelson. We already, we share some of the costs with the city. So like sweeping and crack sealing of the parking lots, field maintenance, and all of the mowing and maintenance of the fields. The city of Baxter pays for that. They've been doing that already. So that's their contribution into that site as well. I will say that this is a 10-year initial term lease with some automatic renewals on there. It's just obviously it's a big community investment here, and that's why they've asked for a little bit longer term on this. So we do have a right of refusal after 10 years if we so choose.
Okay, thank you, Reed. Any other questions or comments for Reed? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move for the approval of the Oscar Christopherson Park lease agreement as presented.
I will second.
Motion by Director Nystrom, second by Director Blacklands for approval of the Oscar Christopherson Park lease agreement as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bob Nystrom,
Yes.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Great, thank you. Last action item that we have to that we'll be discussing is our 2019-2020 annual audit report, and I see we have Mary Reedy, welcome, and Marcy Lord back.
I would introduce you to Mary Reedy, but I think you all know her, right?
We do.
But she will be doing the majority of the presentation, and I'll just add in when I can. Can everybody see it okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me tonight. Usually I'm at the top. Today I had to be asked to be put down at the bottom, so thank you for that. Unusual request, but it worked out great. Once again, virtual in the times that we're living in right now. A huge shout out to Brainerd Business Office. We had to do a lot of our work remote, so it meant quite a bit of additional burden on that staff, and they were able to work with us and get us the information that we needed to be able to present tonight at your December meeting. We'll go through the PowerPoint. I know there's a big bound audit document. I'm pretty sure you guys would love for me to read, but I'll leave that for your nighttime reading if you'd like. So I'll go through the PowerPoint. Within there's graphs, and there's going to be some comparisons. You can kind of see where the district is at. It's a little bit easier, nicer view of the district, and a little bit easier to understand. But feel free to stop me at any time. I know it's a little bit hard with this type of interaction, but just feel free to stop me. It won't throw me off. And then we'll leave time at the end too if you have additional questions. So we'll go through our required audit communications. I go through this every year, but our primary responsibility as auditors is to provide an opinion on the fairness of the financial statements presented tonight. We do want to review your internal controls. We want to make sure that the district has controls in place and that they're working. If they're not working, we definitely let the board be aware of that. Risk-based audit approach, we definitely do not test every transaction. We still wouldn't be done. So we do some few detail level transaction testing, and we do some comparisons, current year to prior year, current year to budget. If anything looks out of the ordinary, we look into that a little bit further as well. Significant accounting policies are going to be outlined in Note 1. This year, unusual transaction, GASB 84. I think we talked about this last year. That has to do with your student activities. Those did flow into the general fund. So you'll notice a little bit of shift in general fund. You'll see those revenues and expenses going through. It doesn't mean they got just dumped in the general fund. They're being tracked separately. They have a restricted fund balance totally set aside just as if they were in their own spot as in before. So definitely restricted and can only be spent in that area. Okay, page 3. Definitely within the bound documents, there are some management judgments and accounting estimates. Big one, special education aid, just don't know where that's going to end up. So we work with management, make sure the best estimate gets in there. The other big one is your net pension liability, your para and TRA numbers. Those do get estimated every year. We take those new reports, flow them through. But as you read the financials and as you're into those first couple of statements, you'll see that's where it really affects your expenditures. your liabilities, things like that. It has nothing to do with your fund level statements. It all flows up into the government-wide. Okay, page 4. I talked a little bit about the difficulties encountered in performing the audit. So on top of your millions and millions of dollars of bonds and capital projects going on, Marcy's team had to help us, get everything in the remote environment. So again, grateful that we could be presenting tonight and have the audit done and wrapped up. Corrected and uncorrected. So with the student activities, we were actually able to just flow those through the general fund because they were considered immaterial overall to the general fund. So those just flowed in this year. So we did not restate for that. And then we did do some adjustments to the donations and grants in those, the general fund, food service, and community service. Again, immaterial overall. So we just flowed those through in the current year. Okay. Page 5. A summary of our overall audit results. So an unmodified or a clean opinion is the highest level of assurance as us as auditors can give. One material weakness, the preparation of financial statements. So again, we do this all day, every day. We put the information that we get from the business office and put it into the bound document. We definitely have Marcy and her team review those. We want to make sure that she agrees with the numbers and the wording that's in there. But it's just a disclosure that we go ahead and prepare those financial statements. We do have to test separate programs for federal. The district spends over $750,000 in federal awards. So we have to test those programs, rotating basis, things like that. This year we tested child nutrition cluster and we had no findings noted. So overall clean report there. Minnesota legal compliance, we test about a 7-page checklist there. Just one noted, the checks paid after 35 days. So once the district gets the invoice, you have 35 days to pay that invoice, unless of course you're working out something with the vendor, something wasn't right or things like that. And most of the time, it will not be the ones from the business office. It's going to be the ones from your surrounding areas, the principals and things like that, that hold on to those invoices, unfortunately. So I know business office has communicated to them over and over again to get them in, but that's usually where that issue comes from. Okay. Page 6. So the actual numbers for this year, you can see far right is your 2016 and then far left will be your 2020. This is your general fund. Revenues of about $86.4 million, $176,000 above budget there. Expenditures of about $87 million. Those were about $164,000 under budget. Okay. And when you look at other financing sources, about 3/4 of the way down there, $1 million. That is your capital lease proceeds that came in this year. So your net change in overall fund balance, you had a positive $204,000, and you actually budgeted for a loss of 1.2. So a few things on there. Some of your operating capital was not spent during the current year. So your operating capital restriction went from 1.1 million to about 1.5 million. So that grew. And then your expenditures were able to go down because of the last 3 months. COVID shut down. You didn't have the staff development, staff training. They weren't going anywhere. Little need for subs, right? Because everybody was at home. So what I like to tell districts is that, yes, the general fund did better than expected, but not to be relied on year over year. So just the year that we had. So it's great to be able to put some of that back into fund balance, but like I said, I just wouldn't rely on that every year. So when you look at it, your non-spendable fund balance is going to be any prepaid items or inventory items. So in there, you'll notice that did increase quite a bit. You had some prepayments on some curriculums and then some maintenance agreements as well. And just quite a few different things in there that affected that. Your unassigned fund balance went up to about 7.6 million. So just about 100,000 increase there. When you compare that to your budgeted expenditures, you're about 9%. So the district's policy is to have about between 5 and 7% in those. So sitting at 9, you're doing okay. But like I said, a lot of that came from, this year being as positive as it was. Okay. Page 7, your general fund unassigned fund balance per ADM, so per your student. So that went up a little bit from 1819 into 1920. Page 8, your unassigned fund balance as a percentage of expenditures I talked about. That's 9% right there. Page 9, the top of this is your food service fund. So 2020, you had about $3.1 million of revenues. That was down about $425,000. Total expenditures of $3.4 million, and that was down about $117,000. So your net change in fund balance was actually a loss of $259,000, and you budgeted for a gain of about $50,000. So what I've seen this year in food service is it's gone both ways. Some schools have lost in food service, some have gained, depending on how many meals you serve and how much federal reimbursement made up for that in the last 3 months. So it's just, you're kind of right in the middle of what I've seen. Some went the other way, some went positive, but when you look overall, you had fund balance to cover that loss. And that's why you had some fund balance in there, so that you could, if this were to happen, you had the fund balance for that. So when you look, you actually ended up with about $283,000 in fund balance to go forward with. Okay. Community service fund is right underneath that. Revenues about $3 million. Those were about $377,000 under budget. Expenditures are about $3.4 million, and those were about $515,000 under budget. So you were able to maintain some of those expenses. You cut costs, but the program just didn't catch up enough in those revenues to cover the expenses that they had. So when you look, you had a negative change in fund balance of about $403,000. But you had actually budgeted for a loss of $542,000. So you did come in better than what you expected, just overall loss. But again, you had fund balance in each of those categories. So you have about 4 or 5 categories in community ed, and all of those maintained, and they all ended positive at the end of the year.
Mary, could I ask a question?
Yes.
Would you attribute these losses more to what's happening during the pandemic?
Yes.
For example, like in food service, we were serving a lot of meals to the kids that were home, and maybe we didn't collect as much there. I'm not really sure, but it was a good thing that we were able to do that.
Yes. And I had talked to Marcy a little bit ahead of time to see, because in 2020, 2021, all of it is federal funded, right? I mean, any meals that you're doing, you get that program the whole year. So it'll be interesting to see, because federal is reimbursing you right now for a little bit higher rate than you actually were getting for the paid meals. So it'll be interesting to see that net effect. But when you think about it, you lost a la carte. You lost, any of the additional revenues for the second meals that were coming in. Stuff you just couldn't account for. So, right, 100% food service and community service, a lot of these losses attributed to COVID and not being able to just adjust for it, and have basically having your hands tied.
So, Mary, I have a question too. This is Ruth. So food service, when I looked at that, I was quite concerned for this year because, of course, we're in distance learning again, and we lost pretty much what's left of our fund balance last year. We have 282 in fund balance. Mm-hmm. But then you said something about the federal government is reimbursing us more now. Is that correct?
Not more. So last year was just 3 months, right? And so even in those 3 months, you were reimbursed more than what you had been. So federal government is still making it, but this year it'll be the full year and all meals. And Marcy, did you want to share what you found out too when we were talking?
Yeah, and right now we're doing so many meal kits. Alyssa had projected that we would need to give out about 15,000 meal kits a week in order to break even. And last week I got information from food service that we hit 20,000. So we're hoping that we are above the break-even point and not see this loss this year. You have to remember last spring we were trying to do our best, but I don't think we came near that in the amount of meals that we got out to families.
Okay, so the more meals we get out, the better as far as reimbursements, is that?
Yes, that's what if we can push that out to families that, hey, come get your week's worth of lunch, you're helping us out big time.
Okay, and so that's a win for both families and for us.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you're not, Marcy, are you not too concerned about, I mean, it's kind of up in the air, but you're hopeful that we'll be okay for this year.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Good questions. Okay. We'll go to page 10 then. Your debt service fund. So you're going to see this change a little bit when we get further into some graphs and some numbers. But total revenues of about 13.7 million. You can see last year was about 9 million. So, what funds debt service? Taxes. So when we go through here, you'll see the impact on taxes as well. And then your expenditures at 13.7. Some of those new bonds now are you're making payments on. So you see that to increase. You have to levy 105%, and then the state will adjust those as necessary if you have fund balance. But as you can see, debt service fund is operating as it should. Capital Projects Fund, you can see there's still quite a bit of activity there. Another 15 million issued this year, and then just a few more to issue in the coming years. So restricted fund balance, you have about 98 million still sitting in there. As you got all of the reports tonight, you can see that that's well on its way to being spent as well. By far, 2020 was the biggest expenditure. You had about 80 million in expenditures this year. So, okay, sources of revenues. So a big piece of the pie is state. It hasn't changed from prior year at all. Taxes, 22%. That was about 19% last year when you looked at this pie chart. You go to the next page, it goes hand in hand. You can kind of see the funding sources. You can see there's what I was talking about. Your taxes increased, went from 19.6 to 23.9. Okay. State went up. You can see that the general ed aid went up and special education went up, so that caused an increase in your state. And then federal, you actually dropped a little bit. I believe those were due to other programs due to the last 3 months not claiming as much. But next year, you'll probably see that increase with a full year of meals coming in from Fund 4.
And it'll be a big increase because of CARES funds.
Yes, right. Yep. Yep. Okay, page 13. Where do those dollars get spent? Okay, so this doesn't really say much, right? I mean, when you look at it, it's all sites and buildings, so you can't really see what the true effect of that is. So if you go to page 14, you can see it a little bit better, because if you look at your instructional actually increased, right? Even though the pie chart may have decreased, so the big reason is due to your sites, building, and equipment. Okay, it's going to be that way for a little while until you get through all of these projects. But this really gives you an idea of where everything else landed and how you did there. Again, the debt service far right, you can see that increased as well, just paying on those newer bonds. Okay. Page 15, I like to do this by category. So where's the money being spent? Again, capital expenditures took a big piece of this, but normally your biggest piece is going to be salaries. So if you look at page 16 again, you can see far left salaries actually increased as well. Your employee benefits. Purchase services decreased, a little bit new for this year. So as you voted for your transportation contract, that affected the purchase services last year, those last 3 months that you adjusted those. Again, I said the travel and conventions, those weren't attended by staff, so that decreased as well. And then the increase from, the 16 and 17, you're going to have some of your construction project money in here. It does get coded here besides the capital outlay. So this is going to be a little bit higher too until you get all those projects done. Okay. Page 17, your average daily membership. So what drives your revenue? You can see this year you went down about 10 students. Okay, you'll just want to keep an eye on this. I know I've talked with Marcy a little bit. She's probably informed the board too. Just it's going to go down a little bit next year as well. So just like to continue to watch that. Of course, you get paid extra money for the secondary, and you did have a little bit of increase in that category from prior year. Page 18. Blue is your resident students, so you actually had a small decrease there. And then red is your non-resident students, and you actually gained 1 in that category. Page 19. So your open enrollment, what students are coming in and then what students are going out. The green line is basically your net gain or loss. There you can see that grew a little bit from last year. So from 316 negative to about 344 negative. Page 20, your district and administration support. So blue is the district, red is your state average, and then green is districts of similar size. Always a year behind, so you can see, but your blue is definitely lower than both of the other comparisons. Okay, so where's the money going? If you look at page 21, you're about a little bit over average in instruction comparison with the other two. Okay, so the money's being spent in the classroom. Page 22, I'd like to show you your self-insurance fund. Their net position increased a little bit. The revenues this year show about 13 payments compared to last year. So it looks a little bit higher than your expenses. That would be why, just the timing of those. So that was a brief overview. When we come in to do the audit, we definitely don't make audit adjustments. So the information you're getting on a monthly basis, you can definitely rely on to make informed decisions. I didn't know if anybody had any other questions.
Thank you, Mary. Any questions from anyone? Gosh, you must have covered it very, very well. Thank you.
And if any of you guys want paper copies, just let me know, because those are available if needed. Paper copies of the financials.
And
Sorry.
Marcy, for the public too, they have access to it where?
So it is up attached to the agenda as well, the PDF.
Marcy, would like to thank you for pulling this together amongst all the other things and challenges. So thanks for getting this all pulled together so we can get this approved. Appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Charles, it looks like you're moving in to make a motion or something.
Nope. Just thinking about that cupcake.
I'll also move the approval of the 2019-2020 annual audit report.
And
Reed,
I'll
one second. Sue and I just on that second.
Got it. So motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Campbell for approval of our 2019-2020 annual audit as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Charles Blacklands,
Yes.
Reed Campbell,
Yes.
Tom Hageland,
Yes.
Sue Kern,
Yes.
Ruth Nelson,
Yes.
Bob Nystrom.
Yes.
All in favor.
Okay, great. Thank you again, both Mary and Marcy, for pulling all this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our for action business anyway. And so next will be informational. Mr. Campbell, are you going to give us a Public Schools Foundation update?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Eglin. The foundation met last Monday, December 7th. There was a virtual meeting, of course, and they spent time on, most of the time was spent on the big event, which again is going to be a virtual event that'll be held February 6th. So they've done a lot of work on making it a virtual event that you have to go online to check out on how everything works. But a lot of work has been put into that, and they've done an amazing job on making it look fun and interesting. So make sure you go on there and check it out, and be ready to bid on all kinds of items then again too for the auction deal. So, but again, that will be held February 6th. So keep that in mind. Also talked about the grant applications. Those all went out, and they did have leftover money because I think the teachers were too busy with everything else and didn't get their grants in time. So they do have some extra money that's left over from to give out in there. I think they're going to just hold that for now and decide on what to do with that later on. The Hall of Fame was brought up, and we did get a letter from them, from the foundation, talking about maybe that they don't want to be involved with it. So there's ongoing discussion on what options to do there, on what we're going to do with the Hall of Fame. But again, we'll keep working on that one. So I don't know if you wanted to touch base on that one too, Superintendent Larson, on the Hall of Fame deal, but I think we'll keep working on that one. So, and that was about it.
Mr. Chair, can I?
Who didn't want something to do with that?
The foundation is looking at, where they go with the Hall of Fame going forward. It's become quite a burden for them to put together as part-time employees. So, but we're looking at, what other options can we do? We want to keep it going, of course, and but we got to see what other options that we could look at.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to personally thank Director Campbell for his service to the BPSF board. I think, Reed, you've done this for what, 12 to 14 years in that?
Yeah, I think it's about 12 of them, yeah.
They've asked me to replace Reed, and Reed has very big shoes to fill. So I got quite an act to follow. So thank you, Reed. You've done a phenomenal job.
Yes, you have. Yeah.
Thank you, Reed. And that's great news, Bob. For you to follow Reed's footsteps. That's fantastic. Good to hear.
I know, yeah.
I actually was the representative before Reed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know you're back.
I can't remember how it went to Reed, but Reed has just done a fabulous
job.
Yeah,
so he's just going back into his own shoes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Great.
Neat.
Thank you. Next up, business service report. Marcy.
So in your report is the enrollment report. This month we are down 188 from budget. So not any good news there. We were down 50 from the beginning of the year, and last year at this time we were down 32. So just an FYI on that. We're going to continue to watch that. We were hoping that we'd start to see some increases, but we are not. The financial report is October's. I did get that corrected, and there's really nothing new to note. We're still under in food service and community ed because of the programs just spending less money with all that's happening. Construction is tracking along, and the other funds are tracking right along. The audit was presented. We'll start using that to build, or when we start talking about our budgets for next year. And then the revision 1 for this year will be presented in January, and we'll also use that when we're looking at next year's budget. I know I mentioned this already, but I did want to just give a shout out to food service. I mean, it was crazy. 20,678 meals went out last week. So very cool. What was that?
What was that number again?
20,678 meals. And the crazy part is that's the exact same number that went out the week before, but in different categories, the numbers were different. So just kind of a weird, yeah. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Marcy. Superintendent Larson.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One is that my second bi-monthly letter will go to families this Friday. So we're going to wait and get the results again from MDH and put the most current information. And we've got a few more things we're going to add to that letter this Friday. So that'll go out. Next, on the 22nd, Tuesday the 22nd, we're going to have, we've always had a big, not always, but the last few years, we've had a really fun luncheon in the superintendent's office for the holidays. We're going to do a little bit of a luncheon the day of the 22nd, just out in the hallway. So if anybody is driving by, we would love to have you stop in and just get some Christmas treats and still have some holiday celebration, although it be in a really modified version this year. Also, just want to remind everyone that the district offices will be primarily closed over the holiday. There might be a few people here and there, but I know a lot of people will be gone, and so the offices will be closed. But when we come back for the new year, we'll have project oversight on the 5th of January at 8 o'clock. And our organizational meeting of the Board of Education will be on Monday, January 11th at 5:30 p.m., followed with a regular meeting at 6 o'clock. So just remember those changes. And again, I leave you today just by saying thank you to Sue, thank you to Reed. We love you, we'll miss you greatly, and the work that you've done on behalf of our children is none other than commendable. And it has been a joy and a pleasure to work with you both. And I know I speak for everyone. We will miss you greatly. Yep. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Sue and Reed. And I know, Reed, you said you had a comment you wanted to make at the end.
Yeah, if I could right now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is a bittersweet moment. And am I on?
You are on, yes.
Yeah, so I do look forward to spending, a lot more time with my lovely wife, Sally, and my children, and especially my little grandkids. These last 17 years have given me have gone so quickly, and I thank the district constituents for entrusting me with the honor to serve on the board. My experience have gone from tough losses of that 2007 Levy referendum to the amazing bond referendum 2 years ago that this great community supported to give us the $200+ million to build new schools and revamp our schools to better serve our growing needs of our teaching community. Today marks the first day of vaccines given to Americans, so we will look forward to the days ahead that gets our students and staff back into the classroom and fill our wonderful staff facilities with children eager to learn. I need to take this time also to thank my esteemed colleagues, all of you, whom I've worked with for many hours these last few years. Director Nystrom, who's a BHS graduate classmate of mine and is responsible for getting me on this on the board some 17 and a half years ago. He's our resident historian and is always positive, and I will miss our board discussions. Mr. Director Hagelin, another Brainerd High School product who has deep community roots and is a very busy business owner, but still finds ways to devote many hours to school discussions and issues over and above the normal board meetings. Director Nelson, who's always comes prepared and always asks the best questions. She's always impressed me with her abilities, and I will miss her. Director Kern, another Brainerd native, and she's another hardworking district director who will always spend, give her stand her ground and who's not afraid to convey her beliefs. She will be missed on the board also. Director Blacklance, a quick learner who is who has fit in very well with us after just 2 years. I will miss his engaging personal stories that he melds into his discussion-making processes at the board table. They're always interesting. I congratulate and welcome incoming directors Ms. Sjogren and Mr. Boyles, and look forward to their contributions. And now I must thank Superintendent Larson. I've worked for 5 different superintendents, and I have to say that Miss Larson was chosen a few years ago to replace, to help us with the huge undertaking of the facilities project. And we could not have done this without her. She was the right choice. She has outperformed and has been faced with many challenges and opportunities in her short time here, but has handled them all professionally, and I hope she stays on for many years to come. Thank you to all of the administrators, to Janet Horn, who has been with, right by my side too, and always keeps all the directors up to date and informed. Our excellent teachers, paraprofessionals, cooks, and custodians. What a wonderful team that we have, and I'm proud of us all. I say goodbye, but we'll continue to bleed warrior blue, and we'll always cherish these memories. Thank you. God bless, and Merry Christmas to you all.
All right.
I would
Thank
just,
Thank you.
We'll miss you, Reed.
I know, I'll miss you all.
I don't have a big, long statement, but I just want to say thank you to all of you for the privilege and the opportunity to be a part of the district, to be on the board and serve for 8 years. It's been fun. It's been challenging. And, I just want you to get them kids back to school. So thank you all so very much for your patience and for your counsel. In Jesus. Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
All right, thank you.
We'll miss you, Sue.
Okay, well, what an evening. Thank you again, Sue and Reed, and welcome Jana and Kevin next month. Ruth has the cupcakes again, the chair with the cupcakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet, for doing the deliveries today.
Yep.
And so I will ask one last time if there's any other action to come before the board.
Oh, can I make the motion to adjourn?
I think that would be appropriate.
And I will second.
All right, Sue.
All right. So motion by Director Campbell one more time, and second by Director Kern one more time for adjourning our December 14th school board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful Merry Christmas. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you all soon.